Hasbro just announced they're going to be dropping the Mr. from their iconic Mr. Potato Head brand of spudly toys. Yep, the new name of the iconic anthropomorphized shape-shifting plastic tater is now going to be the gender-neutral name Potato Head. This latest move is an attempt to draw in a broader base of customers. The mix-and-match toy kit typically comes with facial features like a mustache, nose, mouth, eyeglasses, and goofy ears. Until now, Mr. Potato Head and his female counterpart, Mrs. Potato Head, have been sold separately as individually gendered characters. This latest tweak takes aim at appeasing growing consumer demand for LGBTQ-friendly products. Yep, Mr. Potato Head can now be married to another Mr. Potato Head if you please. Potato Head can also identify as non-binary or trans. Hasbro simply has opened up a world of new opportunities for consumers to explore. This new incarnation of the classic toy will also be made more sustainable by utilizing plant-based plastics and decreasing the amount of plastic in its packaging. In recent years, green consumerism has become a bigger trend, and socially aware gender-neutral branding is also on the rise. Hasbro's competitor, Mattel, has also jumped aboard the progressive bandwagon by announcing a line of gender-neutral Barbie dolls in a wide variety of skin tones, body types, and other incarnations. Starting this fall, Hasbro will be offering the toys as a family unit they've dubbed the Potato Head Family Pack. The kit will include 2 gender-neutral adult potatoes, a baby potato spudlet, and 42 accessories. The idea is kids can decide for themselves the parents' gender without being forced to label them Mr. and Mrs. Hasbro did make it clear in their press release that Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head dolls will continue to live on as part of the brand. But now kids are given more freedom to model the toys as they see fit. News of the name change emerged at an investors' meeting on Thursday, February 25th. Rich Ferraro, a spokesperson for the LGBTQ advocacy group GLAAD, pointed out that offering a toy outside the gender binary gives kids the opportunity to simply see toys as toys, which he says encourages them to be their more authentic selves outside of the pressures of traditional gender norms. Hasbro's press release was met with both praise and ridicule. Some see the move as progressive and inclusive, while others have criticized it for being unnecessary, unwanted, and trivial. Over the years, Potato Head has actually gone through a number of changes and incarnations, adapting to the changing times. Regardless of how you view this latest change, it's worth taking a closer look at the history of everyone's favorite root vegetable. A brief history of the potato head. Mr. Potato Head was conceived in 1949. He was the brainchild of a Brooklyn-born toy inventor by the name of George Lerner. He came up with the idea after experimenting with the idea of inserting small, pronged body parts and facial features into various fruits and vegetables to create what he called Funny Face Man. World War II had just ended, and times were tough. A lot of families didn't have a budget for flashy new toys, so parents had to do a lot of improvisation to keep their kids occupied on a budget. What Lerner was doing really wasn't that revolutionary. In fact, a lot of folks would grab sturdy vegetables straight out of their garden to create crude yet functional dolls for the children. When Lerner was a child growing up in the Great Depression, he used to make dolls out of potatoes for his sisters. He would use produce like grapes and carrots as facial features. Not everyone was thrilled with Lerner's ideas. Some saw what he was doing as being a waste of good produce someone could have eaten. But remember, the war was still raging on. Everyone had to do their part to conserve what little resources they had. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. And stick around to see how Mr. Potato Head has evolved over the years. A spud in the right direction. Eventually, a food company reached an agreement to pay Lerner a small licensing fee to include a packet of plastic potato facial features as a prize inside of cereal boxes. Lerner saw this as a victory, but he knew he was onto something bigger with his starchy invention. He got lucky when he ran into the opportunity to show off a prototype of his creation to 2 brothers, Henry and Merrill Hassenfeld, who happened to operate a school supply and toy company called Hassenfeld Brothers. If that name sounds kinda familiar, that's because they would eventually shorten it to Hasbro. Well, the brothers Hassenfeld were so intrigued by Lerner's invention, they paid the cereal company $2,000 to cease production of the plastic parts, and they bought the rights to the toy for $5,000. Mr. Potato Head officially came into this world on May 1st, 1952. A sight for sore eyes. The original toy kit was actually pretty horrifying to look at. For 98 cents, you'd get a set of hands, feet, ears, 2 mouthpieces, 2 sets of eyes, a collection of 4 noses, 3 hats, a toy pipe, and 8 felt pieces that were meant to simulate facial hair. The original Mr. Potato Head kit didn't come with a torso piece. Children had to provide their own spud to enjoy the toy, although the packaging boasted that any fruit or vegetable would do in a pinch. Mr. Potato Head was actually the first toy to ever be advertised on TV, so he was the first star of the very first advertising campaign to be directed at kids. More than 1 million units were sold in the first year alone. A wife and a makeover. Mrs. Potato Head was added to the Hasbro lineup the following year. Together, they formed a little nuclear family with all the 20th century trimmings. The Potato family had their very own car, kitchen set, boat trailer, and even a cute little stroller perfect for little baby Spudlets. The Potato Clan ran into a bit of a problem in the 60s when parents started realizing their children were injuring themselves by ingesting the small pieces and cutting themselves on the sharp pointy ends. The Child Protection Act of 1966 and a follow-up bill in '69 gave the FDA the power to ban toys they deemed unsafe. Hasbro quickly responded by replacing Mr. Potato Head's components with less sharp, more kid-safe pegs. This change-up presented kids with a new roadblock. The new blunted pieces were incredibly difficult to jam inside a potato. So in 1964, Hasbro decided to include a plastic potato torso in each kit. This new incarnation was a step closer to the Mr. Potato Head we all know and love today. In 1975, the company increased the body size and the accessory dimensions to make the toy even safer for children. Another change was a couple years later when Mr. Potato Head's holes were replaced with flat slats, making it more difficult for kids to place the face pieces in the wrong places. Not everyone was pleased with this move, so Hasbro reverted back to the older hole design in the 80s, allowing kids to make little freakish Frankenstein potatoes once again. The times they are a-changin'. Mr. Potato Head's life story is one complete with twists and turns, controversy, surprises, and he's even broken a few records. In 1985, Mr. Potato Head received 4 votes for the mayor of Boise, Idaho. Guinness World Records ended up creating an entry for most votes for Mr. Potato Head in a political campaign. In 1987, Mr. Potato Head put down his signature pipe and became a spokespud for the Great American Smokeout, an annual event to raise awareness to the dangers of consuming tobacco products. Mr. Potato Head was even featured in a highly ambitious art installation in Rhode Island when Hasbro commissioned 37-foot-tall Mr. Potato Head statues to be displayed throughout the state to commemorate the toy's birthplace. Bizarrely, the statues omitted noxious fumes that sent several of the artists to the hospital with respiratory infections and skin burns. Mr. Potato Head made his big screen debut in 1995, some 50 years after his inception, with the release of the first Toy Story film. Sales of the toy went through the roof. Toy Story didn't just give a boost to Mr. Potato Head's sales figures, but other classic toy sales like Slinky and Etch-a-Sketch also soared. So what lies ahead for the Potato Head family? Well, we're not sure, but it's fairly clear Hasbro will keep updating their toy line to keep up with the changing times. Some have criticized the company for dropping the honorific title of Mr., accusing the company of needlessly participating in cancel culture, while others have praised the latest marketing move for its attempt at making the toy more inclusive to a larger assortment of diverse consumers. What do you think? Are you happy with Hasbro's decision to rebrand the toy, or do you think the name change is a little too much? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.